Hello guys, welcome back to the workshop. In today's video I'm going to do a Q&A video. It's one that I've promised a little while ago. I get hundreds and hundreds of questions every day from you guys wanting to know about all aspects of our van build and van life. So I thought it's about time that I put a Q&A video together. So I've looked through all the questions and picked some of the most popular ones that I get asked most often. I'm very sorry if I haven't included your particular question. I do try and answer them as many as possible as I can online. So if you haven't got an answer in this video, hopefully I'll get round to answering your question in person. So I've written down a list of the popular ones here in my little book, and we'll just go through them one by one. Okay, so the first question I get asked is, can you leave your solar charge controller on when you're on a mains charger or when you're driving and you're on a battery to battery charger? Simple answer is yes, you can. Basically, the solar MPPT charge controller will see a high voltage from the mains charger on the batteries, and it will think the batteries basically are fully charged. So then it will back off itself and it will go into like a float mode. So it's a very intelligent controller. It's constantly monitoring the voltage on the batteries. When it sees another device is charging and that voltage is increased, it will back off accordingly. So we just leave our solar on all the time. The next question is from Christine Doyle and many others. Are we glad that we fitted the Truma heater? And yes, 100%. That's probably the best thing in our van. It just works so well. You know, we get totally controllable heating, we get hot water on demand, there's plenty of water in the boiler to have a nice decent shower. Once you've mixed that 10 litres of 60-degree water with some cold water, there's plenty of water there for both of us to have a shower off of that boiler. But one of the best features that I really like about that boiler is the iNet controller. It's a little box which is like a network, and we put a little SIM card in there. We've got a pay-as-you-go SIM card, only costs us £5 a month. And then that allows me to connect to the boiler system remotely from the van. When I'm in the van, I can connect to the iNet box via Bluetooth on my phone, and I can control everything from Bluetooth. But especially when I'm outside the van, I can set some parameters on the heating so that if it drops below 10 degrees in the van, you can change that temperature whatever you like. I put it at 10. If it gets cold inside the van, the iNet box will send me a text message. It will tell me that the van's really cold. And then with my phone remotely, I can turn the boiler on and turn the heating on in the van to keep it warm and to keep it frost protected. So at this time of year in the winter, that is absolutely perfect. If we've left the van somewhere and gone off exploring, if the van gets cold, the boiler will text me, or the iNet box will text me, tell me that it's cold, and I can put it on remotely. And the other thing is I can get all the other feedback from the system as well. I can get the van's voltage on the batteries, I can get the internal space temperature, and I can also get the water temperature. And if I just want to put the van on and warm it up so that when we get back to it it's nice and toasty, I can turn the heating on remotely. It just works brilliantly. You know, it's such an ingenious little feature that is, but the heating as a whole works absolutely fantastic. Another question I get asked quite a lot is voltage sensitive relay or split charge relay or battery to battery. What should I install? Now originally I was going to put a split charge in my van, but after doing a lot more research, I found that the best way to do this is with a battery to battery charger or DC to DC charger. And the reason for that is a split charge relay is just a switch. When the voltage on the starter engine gets high enough, that flicks on that relay, opens that circuit and basically just connects the two batteries together. Now there's no way of monitoring what the battery conditions are. That voltage doesn't vary depending on what the condition of your leisure batteries are. It's just a constant charge. So okay, yeah, they do work, but it's not the best way of looking after your leisure batteries. You've invested a lot of money in those leisure batteries. So it's better to have a B2B charger, and what that does is that monitors the condition of your leisure batteries and that adjusts that voltage according to what they need. If they're depleted a lot, it will go into like a bulk charge and it'll allow loads of amps to go into the battery. And when they start getting to their full sort of condition, it will back off and go into like a float mode. And you can set charging profiles depending on what type of batteries you've got, because very often your leisure batteries are a completely different make of battery to your van battery. Your van battery is a flooded lead acid battery, and a lot of your leisure batteries will be AGM, or there'll be a solid core sealed battery which require different charging characteristics. So I think it's a little bit more expensive, but to look after those batteries a lot better, you're better off fitting a B2B charger. Another question regarding batteries, Cook and Grom asked me, and a few other people have asked as well. He's got 8 AGM batteries, 8 to 10 batteries, to possibly fit into his van so he could be off grid for a number of days at a time. Do I think that's a wise installation? And the simple answer is no, I don't. A lot of people fall into the trap of thinking, right, I need a massive battery bank so I can be off grid for loads of time. And you're falling into the trap. That big battery bank, okay, you can use it for 3 or 4 days, but once it's used, how are you then going to recharge it? You can only really use the electricity that you can generate. So you've got to look at your solar system and what you've got coming into the van, into the batteries, and that is realistically what you can use on a day-to-day basis. It's pointless having a massive battery bank because you're just going to deplete them and never be able to recharge them again. So the way I would look at it is I would look at what you can generate electricity with. Put a nice big solar system on the roof, put a B2B charger in so you can charge while driving, and as a backup have a mains charger you can use on a hookup. And then put a reasonable battery bank in. It will last you a couple of days, but nothing too big. And then every day that battery bank is going to be topped up to the max, and they're going to last you a lot longer. Because the less you can deplete those batteries, the more life cycles you'll get out of them. So by far the better way to go is to put large charging and small battery bank. The next question from Cora the Explorer and many others have asked, should I get my gas system checked out by an engineer? 100%, I totally agree with that. If you've done the installation yourself, it's always advisable to get somebody to give it a check at the end and to certify that it's safe. I can't agree with that more. And if you're stuck to find somebody that can do that for you, contact one of your local camping and caravan supply places. There's quite a few throughout the UK that deal with motorhomes and caravans and that kind of thing. They will have a local engineer that does all the annual servicing and all the fault finding and so forth on their motorhomes and caravans. Usually they can either offer the service direct or they can put you in touch with an LPG engineer that can come out and do that on your van. But I would definitely recommend you doing that if you've done the installation yourself. And a few more questions on gas while we're on the subject. What do I think about underslung gas tanks? Well, in hindsight, I think if I was to build my van again, I'd definitely put an underslung tank in for a couple of reasons. One, having the gas outside your van is just instantly safer than having it inside your van. So if you do develop a leak or anything like that, it's going to be outside of the van. That LPG is just going to dissipate outside. It's not going to cause you a problem inside your van. So initially it's much safer to have it outside. And the second benefit is external tanks do tend to be bigger capacity. They do a couple of different tanks. One is a long cylindrical tank, which would sit sort of lengthways in the chassis. Another one, you can take the spare wheel out, put the spare wheel on the back door or the roof of the van, and they do a gas tank now which fits in the place of your spare wheel. And they're a bigger capacity, so you can go a lot longer before fill-ups, which now that Shell and Cala have got rid of auto gas, there's a lot less places in the UK where you can find auto gas and LPG now, so having a larger capacity on your tank is going to be a great benefit. So I think if I built another one, I'd definitely go for an outside tank, and I maybe wouldn't have put that tank inside the van. And now another gas related question from East Coast Boat Fishing. He asked me, have we got an LPG detector in the van and where is it located? Well, I've got a few safety devices in the van. I've got a carbon monoxide sensor in the living area of the van. I've got a normal smoke detector at high level on the ceiling in the living area of the van. But I've also got a gas detector in the garage of the van underneath the bed, and it's local to where our gas cylinder cupboard is. And it detects a number of different gases. I think the one that I've actually got, I'll put some details here up on the screen, it can detect 4 different types of gas. And at the time I got this one because it would do carbon monoxide, LPG, and it would also do these knockout gases. I think there was a lot of hype and a lot of speculation on the internet about people coming around and gassing you while you're asleep in your van, and I think a few of them, you know, they may be stories, some of them may be realistic, people getting robbed in the night and things like that. So this one actually does that as well. But to be honest, in the couple of years we've been camping, I've never ever had any problems at all where we're parked up, and never had cause for concern or worry. So although it does that feature, honestly, I don't think I'll ever need it. Now, Alistair asked a couple of questions. One was, what YouTubers did I watch when we were doing our build? I watched a couple actually. There was one, Travel with Jazz. I think he's changed the name of his channel now, but New Zealand electrician. He'd done a fantastic build series, so look him up. And then another one, it was the restoration couple. Guy Tim and his wife and their 2 young daughters. He built a family van which he fitted out for his family to travel around on, and again he did a fantastic conversion, so his videos are worthwhile watching as well. And many others. Some of the travel related videos, not build related, was the Explorer Buddies. I think the quality of their travel videos is absolutely fantastic, and I've been watching them for a long time as well. They're definitely worth subscribing to. They put out some fantastic content. So there's just a few for you to check out if you're looking for something really good to watch. And the other question Alistair asked me with, what job on the van made me swear the most? This is quite a funny one. It didn't feature in any of the videos, but there were 1 or 2 moments where things didn't go to plan. You know, those sort of bits ended up on the cutting room floor in the edit. But one in particular sticks out, and that was when I was doing the ceiling. We've got a 3mm ply which has got a vinyl covering on it for our ceiling, and it was fitted into a PVC trim. Now the first couple of sheets went in really easy because I was only pushing in one edge into one piece of trim, although it was tricky working overhead and it was a bit of a struggle. It took me all day to get the first 3 sheets in, and then come to the last sheet, that had to go in between 2 fixed trims because I had the trim that I'd just put up previously and then one at the end by the rear doors. So I had to bend this sheet, which was sort of 4 foot wide and 6 foot long, and then try and simultaneously sort of fit it into the 2 trims. And I was getting more and more frustrated because it wasn't going to plan. I was really struggling to push these panels into place. And at the end of it, you know, the blood was boiling a little bit, and I gave it an almighty shove, and all of the vinyl just peeled off the edge of the board. And I was like, right, that's it. I've had a day of it, and I was really hot and frustrated, and I just picked up the nearest tool that I had, which I think was a paint scraper, and did the old John Cleese sort of thrashing at this board, like, you know, really just lost the plot, to be honest. And no, it wasn't video, but that was my proper meltdown moment when I was doing the van build. And I ended up completely trashing that piece of board and had to buy another sheet and eventually do it. But one way that I got out of that was a little fix that I thought. I'd put some sellotape over the edge of that board and found that it just slipped into that PVC trim really easy. But I'd already done all the others by then, so you know, it was a bit pointless. But yeah, that was my meltdown moment, and I'm afraid I didn't video that, so unfortunately you won't be able to see me losing the plot. But it does happen, you know, these things happen, and it's just how you get over them really. But don't let it get you down, you know, because little things all send to try you, but it's how you deal with them, how you get over it. And the end result has turned out fantastic, so it's all good. And loads of people have asked me, when's the second part of the cigar box guitar build coming out? I was really shocked how popular that's been, actually. Obviously not as popular as the van videos. I appreciate it's not a van life video, but it's something that you can carry in your van. It's relatively small, and it's a little hobby that you can just pick up and have a play with. And yes, the cigar box guitar is complete. I have videoed all of the second part of the build, and it's just being edited at the moment. So for those of you who are interested in having a look at that, it will be out very shortly. And I've actually got a little bit of a bug because I'm building a second one of those cigar box guitars currently as well. And although I won't be doing a build video on it, I will be doing a reveal on who that guitar is for. Tandy asked us, where do we get water from in the UK? That is a little bit of a tricky one because there aren't too many places. Garages sometimes have a drinking water tap that you can use. Obviously campsites, we do spend quite a bit of our time on campsites in the UK because there just aren't the free airs, so obviously we can get loads of water on a campsite. And then at weekends when we're visiting relatives, we go and see my mum or Lou's mum and dad, or we go and see our kids or so forth, then obviously we can utilise their water supply. So they're the few that we use while we're travelling in the UK. And then if we're really stuck, we just buy bottled water, cheap bottled water, and use that. And Rich Thomas asked me, why did I pick a Sprinter? Well, the simple reason is the reliability, and it just drives so well. They're just super comfortable. I thought, when I look around, all the major fleets of vehicles for couriers and delivery people, all the big corporations seem to use a lot of Sprinters, and there must be a good reason for that. It must be really reliable. It's got the cam chain instead of the cam belt. I think the engines are a little bit more robust. And okay, so they might have a few little rust issues, but it's just a solid van. It just works really well and just drives superbly. So that's why I picked that. I know it's not the best van in terms of internal space because they're quite narrow at the top, whereas your Fiat Ducatos and Peugeot Boxers and things like that, and even Transits are a lot squarer at the back, so you've probably got a lot more internal space. But I just picked it because it just drives well, and I've driven the van 10 hours a day for 4 or 5 days on the trot and have had absolutely no fatigue or anything like that, so it's really comfortable. And Jamie Malcolm asked me, what did we do for breakdown cover in Europe? Now this was a tricky one. I went to all the major breakdown people, RAC, Green Flag and the like, and there weren't many that could offer us a really good 365 package for Europe. And we went eventually with the AA. They did a 365-day European cover, which also gave us an alternative vehicle, alternative accommodation, or if they couldn't fix the van locally, they would recover the vehicle back to the UK. And I believe it cost us about £250 for that package. And it was just immense amount of peace of mind that we knew that wherever we were in Europe, we could contact the AA and we could either get the van fixed or the van recovered. So it was a great bit of peace of mind. Fortunately, we didn't have to use it at all, but that's what it's there for. Now, a question that Jim Lee asked me is, what are my thoughts about airbag suspension and would I consider fitting it to our van? Now, it's funny you should ask that, Jim, because we just recently had our van MOT'd again for about the 3rd time now. We've had the van for 3 years. And when we MOT'd it, we went and weighed it, and it was very close to that 3.5 tonne limit. Now, I think in the couple of years we've been travelling around, we've probably hoarded a few bits and pieces inside the garage and filled it up with a lot of stuff that, over time has added to that weight. So we put the van immediately on a bit of a crash diet. We got rid of a lot of stuff that we were carrying around that really wasn't essential. So we cleared out a load of stuff out of the garage out the back. And I've looked into actually upplating the vehicle because I didn't want to be in a situation where we may get pulled over and be close to that weight or just over that weight and have a problem. So I'm going to do a dedicated video on this because there is ways that you can change the plated weight of the vehicle without having to do any particular sort of suspension mods. So that's one way of doing it. But what I have also done and will feature in an upcoming video is I have now purchased an airbag kit for the Sprinter. So because we're carrying a lot of weight, I don't want to put a lot of strain on that existing suspension system constantly. So what this airbag system is going to do is that's going to supplement that rear suspension, which where the bulk of the weight is. There's hardly any weight, a normal weight, if you like, on the front axle, but on the rear axle there's quite a lot. So in addition to the leaf springs that are already there, we'll remove the bump stops and we'll put this airbag suspension kit in. I'll do a detailed installation video on how that's all done. And then what that'll do is basically that will then supplement that suspension on the back of the van. And then we'll go through the process of how to upplate the van. So to change the gross vehicle weight from 3.5 tonnes to about 3.9, I think you can go a little bit more with suspension modifications. But we'll go through that whole process in a detailed video. There'll be a build video and the process of getting the van changed and what the implications are as well, because I believe there's some tax and there's also some MOT implications as well when you come to modify suspension. So look out for that video in the near future. And then the last question from Michael Devlin, he asked me, what van are you doing next? Oh, funny you should ask that, Michael, because we are literally looking for another van at the moment. I'm poring over the Auto Trader and eBay and all the various van sites, and I'm looking for another van to build. So yeah, you're right, you heard it here. We're going to be doing another van build. Now, we're not going to get rid of our van. I love our van. It's brilliant. It's served us really well and still is. So we're still going to be living in our van, but this is going to be another build for you guys out there, because I had a lot of questions about, the fact that we were using the workshop here. Our van was done to quite a high level budget. We had a lot of, top of the range equipment in our van, which people maybe haven't got the budget and the finances to do that. So this particular van is going to be almost the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm going to be doing like a recycled van, if you like. So I'm going to be trying to do this van, real top quality van, try and turn out a van which is really good, really useful, got everything that you need in it, but I'm going to try and do it for as little money as possible. So I'm going to be looking on Marketplace, Free Cycle, places like that. I'm going to be dumpster diving, even things like that, to get free materials. And I'm going to try and do this build as cheaply as possible, but still turn out a cracking van. So if you're looking for a van build series that is from the sort of budget end of the market, that's what we're going to be doing next. And that's going to be a project that we're going to be doing over this winter period. So as I say, as soon as I get hold of that van, that build series is going to be starting. And I'm also not going to be using the workshop here. I'm going to be using basic hand tools, because a lot of people said, oh yeah, I could build that van if I had a workshop like yours. Well, I'm going to show you that it can be done with just simple hand tools as well. You don't need all these fancy tools. So there's loads to look forward to on this channel. We're going to be doing those suspension modifications, and we're going to be doing a new van build. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss these next videos when they come out. And lastly, if you're looking for that little gift for your loved one who's building their van for Christmas, then why not hop onto the links below, or the links in our header of our channel, and get them one of my t-shirts for Christmas. I just want to say a massive thanks to everybody who watches the videos. If you've got any more questions, I'll do another Q&A video, because this one's been really popular. I'm sorry if I couldn't get round to answer your specific question, but pop all your questions in the comments section below, and then I'll put another Q&A video out very shortly. So thank you for watching, and especially to Nigel and Sue, cheers!